Hey, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for checking out this video. Hope you're having a fantastic day, fantastic start to the week. We are going to talk about the Indiana Fever and the playoffs. Yes, the playoffs. And I'm not even going to try and make my voice go as high as Jim Mora. And you're saying, well, wait, they're 5 and 10. Yeah, they are. So, a few things to that. One, they would be in the playoffs right now if the season ended because 8 of the 12 teams make the playoffs. So there's that. However, there are some other things going their way as well. For starters, as I mentioned in another video, the Indiana Fever had one of the toughest schedules in the league over at least their first 11 games. I think what was it, 11 games in 20 days, and they played the Liberty and the Sun multiple times. And so, of course, because of that, they now have one of the easiest schedules the rest of the way. I believe they've won 4 of their last 6. This is their first 2 game winning streak, 4 of the last 6. Their only losses being to the Liberty and Sun, who, if I'm not mistaken, have only lost to each other this season, I believe. I think the Sun beat the Liberty twice, and the Liberty have beaten the Sun once. Now, on top of that, those being the only 2 losses in the last six of their 10 losses are to the Liberty and the Sun. And then they also lost to the Aces, who, although they're struggling right now, many expected to be a top, if not the top team in the league this season. So they still have a ton of talent. The Aces were 34-6 last year. So, I mean, that still is a good team. They're not playing well right now. They still have a ton of talent. So yeah, it's a little crazy to be talking playoffs for the 5 and 10 Fever, but that's where we stand. That's where they would be right now in that final playoff spot, and they have an easier schedule coming up. So what are the things that we say, hey, you know what, this is a good sign. This is what's going to get them into the playoffs. Their offense looked as good as it has ever looked against the Sky overall. Overall, Aaliyah Boston was very good. Players were knocking down shots. Caitlin Clark was a lot more involved, and she had the ball in her hands a lot more, which is really, really important to this team's success. I don't think the teammates understand that. Maybe a couple of them do. Sides sure doesn't seem to understand that. They are a much better team when Caitlin Clark is more involved. I'm hoping they look at this game against the Sky and see, hey, here are some of the things that we did really, really well. And look, they involved Caitlin, and we're going to focus on that going forward and make some changes. The team passing was much better. We saw many times too where Caitlin would give up the ball and actually get it back, which was fantastic. So there's better ball movement. Player movement still not great, but there was better ball movement. They ran more because look, Caitlin Clark has a phenomenally high basketball IQ. Okay, and one of the things her detractors like to say is that all she can do is shoot, and all she can do is shoot the three specifically. Uh, that's a lie. She's an incredibly smart, incredibly unselfish player who, again, is always looking to get her teammates easy buckets. She may be a better passer. I won't say probably. She may be a better passer than she is shooter. She draws a ton of attention, and if her teammates get open, she'll get the ball. A great example was the end of the first half. The end of the first half against the Sky, and I apologize. The player slips my name now. Slips her name, I should say. I can't think of right now. Is I think was it Hall? Caitlin dribbled through into the paint and actually brought 5 defenders to her and then kicked it back out for the three to end the first half. which was fantastic because Caitlin Clark, if you allow her to beat Caitlin Clark, she makes her teammates better, both via the attention that she draws from the other team and her ability to pass the ball, her vision on that court. It really, really makes a huge difference. Boston is playing much better. Look, I think she has a long way to go on screens and what to do after, but I think it was better against the Sky. I can think of one specifically where she set a solid screen, and then and it's probably not the first time, but it's one that really stood out to me where she actually pinned the defender because of the way she pivoted turn facing Clark and rolled to the basket instead of drifting off to the top of the key. And Caitlin hit her with a pass, and Boston had a great finish for a layup and 2 points. And you start doing that a little bit more, that's going to make a big difference. You've got Temifeg Bentley coming back, so hopefully that will be a big addition as well. But look, there are still a lot of minuses. I mean, hey, they are 5-10, easier schedule or not, they still have some climbing to do. And their biggest minus is sides. I mean, I know you're probably sick of hearing that, but I just don't think she's a very good head coach. All she can come up with was the offense that led them to 13 wins in 40 games last year, which is pound the post, get the ball to Boston, pound the post, and nothing creative about how they do it either. Just pound the post. There's limited movement off the ball. There are very few screens. Yeah, they have screens set here and there, basically when a player calls for it. But there isn't a motion offense where there are constant screens off the ball. There's very limited movement. And look, let's even set aside this idea that she doesn't like Clark or that she's trying to freeze her out. I think that's a factor, but I don't have any proof. It's just what I see. But so let's set that aside and just look at it from a coach who is trying to win games. She has no idea how to use Caitlin Clark. I don't understand draft Caitlin Clark, excuse me, when you have a coach who's incapable of using her effectively. She doesn't know, with the attention given by defenses, she doesn't know how to get Clark involved. She doesn't know how to get her the ball in good positions. That's why she has her stand in the corner. No movement, no plays called for her. Again, look at the Sky. Thankfully, Caitlin got herself involved, and I will also give credit to some other players. Like I said, there was better ball movement. They got out in transition more. But don't forget, Caitlin started fast. She had 7 points right at the beginning. She was driving to the basket and finishing, right? That's one of the things we talked about that you say, hey, she's got to, when she gets to the basket, she's got to learn to finish. She's got to add that to her game. And she did. And then it all disappeared. I think she was, what was she, 0 for 2 in the second quarter, which I think were a couple of you could call forced shots or at least high difficulty shots because I think it was Caitlin was getting frustrated. The ball wasn't getting to her. And so when she touches it, of course she's going to shoot because she's not getting it back, which changed later. But again, as a coach, when you have a player that starts that hot, you should already have multiple plays that you can run that are going to free her up to ride that hot hand. That is bad coaching. Bad coaching. Bad coaching. And like I said, I think what Caitlin did early came from her anyway. I don't think it was anything to do with any plays run for her, which seems to be how it goes. So whether Caitlin's involved or not, which makes the team better, really is going to come down to whether Caitlin asserts herself on the court and says, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to get the ball, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to stand in the corner. I'm going to take charge of this offense. I'll make the entire team better." Because when the team is ineffective going through Boston, Coach Sides has no plan B. She doesn't know how to get Caitlin Clark involved in this offense. She doesn't have any answers. She may come out with a decent game plan, although again, I think it's limited. But if it doesn't work, she can't make in-game adjustments. She simply can't do it. Wheeler's just bad. That's all I'm going to say about that. I think she's bad on the court. She's bad for the team. I think Wallace is playing too much. Mitchell shoots too much. She refuses to pass to Clark. And I'm going to give you even a couple specific examples. Um, that there was a turnover. I think it was when it stands out because I remember I think Clark did a very good job at the end of the play on making forcing a tough layup attempt by Carter, who missed. But Mitchell had Carter. Mitchell had Caitlin up top, who was asking for the ball. She ran away from her. Caitlin came off a screen and wanted the ball, and Mitchell just dribbled away from her, dribbled into a triple team, almost lost the ball, came back out, wanted to force a three. The defense was too good. Now Mitchell's in trouble. She tries to throw a terrible, terrible pass, long bounce pass to Caitlin. Right now she needs Caitlin when she's in trouble. Um, Kennedy Carter picked it off, went down the other end, and then, like I said, I think Caitlin played some good defense there. She wasn't very good on Boston's. If you all remember, late in the game, I want to say maybe around 2 minutes left or so. You'll all remember this, where Boston made the drive to the basket with the right hand from, I don't know, five, maybe 4 or 5 feet away, straight on, and she banked it, and it was at the buzzer for the shot clock. Huge bucket. Well, if you go back to that, Mitchell picked up a loose ball at the other end in the corner, had Clark right in front of her, about 10 feet. You can see Clark's got her hand. She's asking for the ball, right? That's the outlet. Mitchell dribbles right by her all the way into the other half end. So, of course, Clark turns and trails. Mitchell picks the ball up almost in the corner. So it's okay. Well, now let's set the offense. She's got Caitlin Clark right there asking for the ball. Clark's the point guard, 10 feet away from her. She's open. Mitchell could just turn and chuck her the ball. Instead, she throws a longer diagonal ball to Boston, who was trailing the play, just gets across half court. And now you have your center 30 feet from the basket with the ball, who's now going to have to try and get it to Clark. She does. Caitlin trying to make something happen, finally finds Boston at the end of the shot clock. But all of that because of Mitchell, that's the type of stuff that goes on all the time that people don't necessarily notice that could have cost them the game. Because she should have given it to her initially when she picked up the rebound, but didn't. She should have given it to her again the second time, but she didn't. And now Indiana is lucky to get a bucket. That's why you get situations where the clock is running down. And the shot clock in Indiana struggles with that. It's a combination of offensive knives is way too slow when you're running it through Boston. And then it's also players like Mitchell who refuse to give the ball to Caitlin Clark, players like Wheeler who refuse to give the ball to Caitlin Clark. They have the worst defense in the league. Obviously, that's a minus. On top of that, going back to the coach, Celeste Taylor continues to sit on the bench. Wallace plays, Wheeler plays, Mitchell plays too much, but Celeste Taylor continues to sit on the bench. Doesn't make any sense. And so, they've got a shot. They've got some things going their way. They got the schedule going the way, but who knows what team's going to come out and play? Our teammate's going to pass her the ball. And look, you still have nobody really stepping up for her. I called out Wallace in the video in a good way because she did step in between Carter and I'm not Carter, Clark, and Carter wasn't involved. She actually was good in that play, and I pointed that out too. She kept Caitlin from falling, and that was it. But the other player who got in Caitlin's face, Wallace stepped between and said, "No, we're not going to have that." But when Angel Reese tried to take Clark's head off, yeah, her teammates went to Clark, but no one got in Angel Reese's face, and that's just ridiculous. Just watch any other team; you're going to see at least one player is going to get in the face and make it clear. I'm not saying do something stupid and get thrown out and lose the game, but you also have to make it clear that you're not going to put up with that nonsense. So changes real quick because this has gotten a lot longer than I expected. I believe Mitchell has a max contract, so I'm not sure if she's tradable. And this is kind of off-season stuff, real quick. But if she is, I think she's got to go. I think Melissa Smith wants out. Okay, she's a solid player. She can have some good games, but she's kind of a black hole like Mitchell too. Once she gets the ball, she's shooting. So you can let Smith go in the expansion draft. I think Wheeler can go as well. Replace him in the draft. Give Celeste Taylor some time. go from there. And of course, coach. You have to make a coaching change. You have to find a coach that's willing to work with Caitlin Clark and knows how to. Someone who's offensive minded, but and this is important because I think people forget this about some offensive coaches. Some really great offensive coaches, their offense starts with being great defensively, right? You be great defensively, you make stops, and then you run your offense off of that. So I think that's really important too. So hopefully they're already looking for a coach now. If they're smart, they will be. But I'm going to leave it there. That's just sort of my overview of where the Indiana Fever are and where they could go. They've got a good, legitimate shot at the playoffs. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are they going to go to the playoffs? Are they way too inconsistent that we just don't know what's going to happen from game to game? But let me know if you're enjoying these videos as well. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and I will talk to you later.